Do you know what really gets on my tits? Apart from Ainsley Harriott, it would have to be cancelled games. So today I would like to discuss 10 games that unfortunately never got to see the light of day on the system. Let's take a look. Originally penned for a 1998 release, Thrill Kill was set to take the gaming world by storm. So what made Thrill Kill so different to the countless other 3D fighters available for the system? If I could sum it up in one word, that word would be pervy. Developed by Paradox Development, the amount of hype surrounding the game had everyone calling it the new Mortal Kombat. The game was ready to go, and with only a few weeks left until its planned release, our good friends EA decided to pull the plug and shelve the game, mainly due to its violent and sexual content, citing that the title would harm their image. Now, I'm not going to sit here and debate what is too violent or sexual for a video game, but when games are depicting blatant BDSM and fetish acts, I can see why a company like EA would make the decision they did. Are they still cunts? Of course they are. Okay, not as bad as KONAMI, but they're still cunts. And due to the game being all but finished before getting cancelled, bootleg copies started to surface, and now the game is widely available for anyone to try out. So if you're feeling a bit pervy, why not crack on a bit of Thrill Kill? Not many people know that before Team Ico's masterpiece hit the PlayStation 2, it was originally planned for its predecessor. Fumito Ueda came up with the concept of Ico way back in 1997, and envisioned what he called a boy meets girl story, which would see the two main characters holding hands and forming a bond throughout the duration of the adventure. Work began on the game in 1998, driven by three ideas: to make a game that would be indistinguishable from its competitors, to feature a style that would be consistently artistic, and for it to play out in an imaginary yet realistic setting. The game steadily made progress in development for 2 years, and then the team started to run into problems, mainly due to the limitations of the PlayStation hardware. They faced a daunting question: should we cancel the game, alter the vision so it was able to run, or continue to explore more options? And one of those options was the PlayStation 2. The project was thankfully moved to the PS2, and the rest is history. If you haven't played Ico, I highly suggest you do. The classic PC title was initially planned to also release for the PlayStation. Set in a Dungeons & Dragons inspired fantasy world, the game would take place over 3 CDs packed to the brim with 10,000 game screens. The reason for its cancellation lies with its developers Runecraft and Interplay, who were having issues with the game's loading times and optimization. The decision was made to pull the plug. Over the years, Baldur's Gate has garnered a very active and passionate fanbase who have been working hard to bring the unreleased PlayStation version to fruition, and they succeeded. Although the game is not 100% complete, it is possible to play through from start to end, and is one hell of a journey. Onimusha is a game with a long history. Originally penned as Sengoku Biohazard, the game was meant to be an ancient spin on the Resident Evil franchise. The player was to traverse a ninja house filled with traps similar to the ones found in the first Resident Evil, and was originally being developed for the Nintendo 64 DD. The ideas behind Sengoku Biohazard slowly changed into something tangible and was renamed Onimusha. Capcom saw the game being part of a trilogy and began work on the first entry for the original PlayStation. Unfortunately, the PlayStation version was scrapped. Even with it being about 50% complete, the team's excitement about the new flashy PlayStation 2 resulted in the game being switched over to the new hardware in order to take advantage of the extra power this system offered. Luckily, Onimusha is one of those games that we got to see, and I'm thankful as the series went on to become one of my favourite franchises. All we need now is a sequel, or at least a HD remake. Make it happen, Capcom. Eternal Chain was an RPG being developed by Victor Interactive Software and started development in 1998. Not much is really known about this game except its plot summary that was published by RPG Gamer way back in the day. Here's the summary. 16,000 years ago, humans lived on Mars. After using up the resources of Mars, the humans started moving to Earth. At that time, another life form, gods, inhabited the Earth. After the humans settled on Earth, they eventually split into 2 groups, those who liked the gods and those who disliked the gods. It was only a matter of time before battles between gods and the 2 groups of humans began. Now that sounds like one hell of a story to me, and something I probably would have enjoyed, but unfortunately, for reasons still unknown, the game was cancelled. Although the title was seen in playable form during the Tokyo Game Show of 1999, the footage and game build are nowhere to be found. If anyone has any details about this game, let me know in the comments. Enemy Zero is a survival horror which was released for the Sega Saturn in 1996. Directed by Kenji Eno, the game was initially being developed for the PlayStation, but Kenji was not happy with how his previous game D had been handled by Sony and became irritated with their failure to meet the pre-orders for the title, resulting in low sales. In a classic move and what could be considered as a giant fuck you, Kenji took the stage at a Sony press conference and presented Enemy Zero to the public. With the PlayStation logo appearing at the end of the demonstration, many assumed the game would release for the console. The image slowly transitioned into the Sega Saturn logo and all but confirmed that development was now taking place on that system instead. Despite the popular opinion at the time that the Sega Saturn was not capable of handling 3D games as well as the PlayStation was, Kenji noted that the PlayStation and Saturn are not so different, so moving it to the Saturn wasn't too difficult. Personally, I think the game might have done better if it got a release for the PlayStation due to its larger popularity at the time, but at least we got the game and it can be enjoyed even to this day. Moral of the story, don't piss off Kenji Eno. Now, I'm a huge Rally fan, and upon hearing about Konami Rally way back in 1999, I was excited to see how the game would turn out. First shown to the public during E3 '99, the game was a spiritual successor to the MSX Rally title Konami Hyper Rally. Originally planned to be released for the PlayStation and Game Boy Color, the game was set to follow in the footsteps of its predecessor and provide a great rally experience. Unfortunately, in true Konami fashion, the game was cancelled and vanished from existence. All that remains from the game are a few screenshots and the footage that was showcased during the event. So yeah, fuck Konami. Developed by Eighth Wonder in 1997, Popcorn was going to be the first title to come from several rare employees that decided to leave the company and set up the Eighth Wonder studio, with funding being provided by none other than Sony themselves. The deal saw Sony committing to publish the studio's first 3 titles, with the option to pick up another 3 should they be successful. The first title was Popcorn, an action-adventure game that featured 6 distinct worlds which each had 3 levels. At the end of each world you would encounter a boss and were tasked with defeating them in order to progress further. By E3 1998, the game was displayed by Sunsoft and would have been published by them in the West. However, by this time cracks were starting to form within the Eighth Wonder studio, and due to a number of internal issues, by 1999 the game was cast to the dustbins of obscurity. Now, this game sounded like a whole lot of fun. Developed by North Star Studios for the original PlayStation, the player would assume the role of various monsters and would be tasked with wreaking havoc upon the citizens. It was all very Godzilla-like. A lot of work went into the project with a load of monsters being designed for the game, including a Dracula-style monster, a giant robot with powerful energy beams, bizarre mutants, and a Godzilla-inspired dinosaur. Sadly, the game never had the chance to be finished, due to North Star Studios being unable to find a publisher willing to publish the game. During 1998, a Japanese publisher by the name of Nihon Flex announced that it would be funding the development of the 3rd game in the Lufia series. This title was to take place 300 years after the events of the original game and set to tie up all of the story threads from the past titles while simultaneously introducing a new one for further games in the series. The game was introduced to the public during the Tokyo Game Show of 1998. A 12-page booklet was handed to attendees, including artwork and details about the title. At this time, it was stated that the game was 20% complete and development was moving along nicely. However, shortly after the announcement, the company financing the project, Nihon Flex, filed for bankruptcy, which forced the project to be put on hold. A year later, the game resurfaced under a different title of The Legend Returns and was now being developed for the Game Boy Color. At least the game did see some sort of a release. It's just unfortunate that the original vision was compromised in order to cater for the Game Boy Color's hardware. Well, that was it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this in the future. I will see you next time.